history with CORE that we put a meeting on the date, the calendar. We didn't have to reschedule it. We've got a lot of good stuff to talk about today in terms of the first quarter. You know, each time we get together, we've got a lot of different things happening with the pandemic, with our events. It's not going to be much different today in terms of there's still a lot of uncertainty, but we feel like we're kind of on the back end of this thing. And as we start to talk, we're going to talk about preparing now for coming out of the pandemic. So really grateful for everyone joining us tonight to really walk through that. So you see the agenda in front of you. I'm not going to read each bullet, but you see it there. I do want to make sure, did everyone get the minutes? Was there anything from the last meeting that was in the minutes that you want, any language added, anything clarified, anything that needs to be pulled out from the minutes from the last meeting? If not, then I move we approve the last meeting minutes. Just need a second.
Second.
Awesome. Is all in favor of those minutes reflecting what the board talked about? Say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, excellent. So again, just invite, you know, as a nonprofit, we got to take minutes. Those kind of the records of what we talk about. So anytime you give it a glance, if there's anything you want to add to that you felt was pertinent in our discussion or capture your voice, don't hesitate to do that. So with that, the way we've got this structured is we're going to give you a current update. Tara's going to give you a current update of where we are right now. We've got a lot of stuff planned for this year. Then we'll talk about that a little bit. And then Brett's going to talk about some of the board contributions. We're growing. You're going to hear a story here that's exciting. At the same time, it's going to require some thought and innovation in terms of how we resource this stuff. As you can imagine, the insurance landscape is tricky the more folks we bring on. So Tara's going to give us an update there. I did just have Mary send out the financials. You'll get an email. If you don't have it right now, you'll have it when I get to that point to talk about the financials. And then Jennifer's going to do a branding update. And then we've got some action items. Is there anything on this agenda is there anything someone wants to add to this agenda? All right, with that then, Tara, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, well, welcome everyone, and thanks for joining tonight, whether you are live or you are listening to the recording. So thanks for your time and attention. So the first thing that actually I want to talk about is not on the slide, and I was just immensely reviewing our accomplishments for 2021, and we neglected to put our largest accomplishment of the year, which we started with a bang with the CORE Virtual Masquerade Giving Gala. And I'm pleased to report that not only did we honor 8 really amazing individuals and groups in the community, as well as telling their stories of all the good work that they did in 2021 and spreading a lot of good cheer at a time when I think a lot of people really needed it in January. We actually raised more money than we raised at our in-person gala last year. So thank you to everyone who contributed, volunteered, provided thought leadership, participated, donated to that event. It was a wild success, and we are really looking forward to then having our 2021. Did I say 2020? It was a 2020 honorees. We will again honor our 2021 honorees in the fall, which we're going to talk about here in a second. So with that said, let's talk about our core big 3 community events. And what these are the events that we have scheduled this year, which really help us support our operating budget. They're core events. So the first one will be the Reston Sprint Triathlon. We have moved the date to August from June. That was voted on last week. Obviously, that's also a fundraiser for Cornerstones, one of our partners here in the community in Reston. So that will be in August. We have added a golf tournament, and it is, Doug, we'll get to the dates in a second. I see you in the comments. Adding in the comments. So it's called the 4Core, F-O-R-E, Core Golf Classic. That will be in July. And that's a really new and exciting event here that we're going to be asking for your support on. And then the Giving Gala for 2021 and the Core Community Heroes Recognition event will be in October, November, date pending, and so forth. The second group of events that we've got coming up are the Core Cares Outreach. And so with that, what we're going to do is focus on the new core cause development, bringing in new really quality causes, which we're really excited to share some information about that here in a minute. We're continuing the outreach that we've done in the shelters and the low income centers through the virtual superhero Splash and Dash program. And we actually just received a $2,500 grant from USAT Foundation and USA Triathlon Foundation. So super excited about that. That will offset that program from a cost perspective. And then we're going to introduce this year an event called the Core Community Day of Service, which Brett's going to talk about here in a minute. In terms of fundraising, we've been working diligently on grant development. We've got 5 or 6 grants that are ready to go out the door. Brett's going to talk a little bit about that. We've been working on those over the past couple of weeks. And as I said, we just got in that grant from the USA Triathlon Foundation. So more to go on that. And now that the Rest and Sprint Triathlon has been moved to August, it gives us some additional runway to promote the Race with Purpose program. And if you're not familiar with that, what that is it allows the athletes to do individual and personal fundraising. We then will credit back either their entry fee, or we offer some other incentives like a kit, a tri gear for free. So we offer some really cool incentives to fundraise, as well as just the athletes get to share their story and their why of why they race, and it enhances their experience beyond just receiving a medal in the event. We are going to be expanding the monthly giving circle. So we've got roughly, and Mary, correct me if I'm wrong here, we've got about $400 coming in on a monthly basis through the foundation, through monthly giving, and some of that's through the core causes as well. We're going to increase that, look to increase that, and do that through, a 15-year campaign kind of push coming up here shortly. And then the last bullet there, and this is an area we're going to be asking for your help, is to continue to help us build the core partnership program. And what those are our core donors that are in the corporate arena. We really need some focus in this area. And what we're asking for from the board are help us get those introductions to CFOs, CEOs, and major gifts partners, community outreach partners with corporations, whoever is basically writing the checks and making the decisions for community partners. So we're going to be asking for those introductions and for the opportunity to give us for us to give them the core elevator pitch. All right. Next slide, Mary. Actually, does anybody have any questions? I know I was talking really fast there. No, okay. So this is just a recap of all of the events coming up. If you want to jot any of these dates down, we have, as I said, the Superhero Virtual Splash and Dash. We'll have, in addition to the Rest and Sprint Triathlon, we're also doing a virtual program for our athletes. The Core Foundation Golf Tournament, which is the 4 Core Golf Classic, is going to be on July 12th. We've got the Rest and Sprint Triathlon in August. The Core Giving Gala will be October, November, and then the Core Community Day of Service. And I think that takes me to the next slide. And Brett,
hey, Kara,
yes.
I want to call the board's attention, some really exciting stuff that's happened with our core cause leadership helping out the foundation, right? Our model is all these core cause leaders have their own passion and what they want to help with. But as the foundation's growing, we're just seeing more willingness and enthusiasm upon core cause leaders that recognize that when they raise money for them, that the foundation really only gets 10% to support all this other stuff we do, the insurance, the taxes, all of that. And so the golf tournament's a great example of where one of our core cause leaders, and in fact, the entire core cause, the Swim Team Dads, has almost said, hey, we get that this is all going to the foundation, right? That this is an event, but we are excited and happy to really make this a success for the foundation. So I just think that's a really positive direction for these core cause leaders leaning in to help the foundation as a whole.
Yeah, that's a great point, Doug. And on that note as well, for the Giving Gala this year, I would say about 60% of the core causes participated by contributing an item to the silent auction, and all of them had something to do with their core cause. So, for example, Colby, who's building desks for kids, donated a Colby Builds It. Gina, I actually think you won that. I'm curious to see what you ended up having built, or if you've decided yet. But
yeah, no,
just
yeah,
one
but
example.
we're gonna work with them. But yes, excited to work with them on getting that though. Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Ted put something in the chat window. He's impressed with how they've stepped up. Yeah, they've been helping us to secure foursomes and donations, and they're just really, the enthusiasm around it's been really incredible. And I think their attitude is they realize that CORE enabled them, the swim team dads, to do good in the
Right.
community, and they want to pay it forward and create these opportunities for others. And that's really their message. And they've been a wonderful advocate and a wonderful spokesperson for the entrepreneurship of CORE. So, all right, Brett, I'm going to turn it over to you here just for a second to talk about the board contributions and what that means, and the CORE Community Day of Service.
Okay. So I'll preface this by saying that as Tara and I and Mary have been working through the grants, and also just from my my experience working with grants, one of the main questions that's asked for grants is about the demographics of the board and also board contributions. So 99% of the grants don't ask for the total amount of contributions. They just want to know what percentage of your board members donate towards your foundation or your organization. And so it could be $5, it could be $5,000, but we want to be able to say that 100% of our board members donate towards CORE Foundation. That could be a check, that could be sponsoring the golf, that could be purchasing something through the actually no, it wouldn't be purchasing something through the silent auction, but just attending an event would be a contribution.
Would buying a ticket to the gala, or would it buying a ticket too?
I think that would not count, because that's
Okay.
it would be the same type of contribution where you would get like a donation letter. So
Okay.
a ticket wouldn't work for that, and like a silent auction wouldn't work for that. But a $5 donation would work towards
Excellent.
An in-kind donation would work, correct?
and yeah, exactly.
You donated tickets to something for a silent auction, the value of that, but if you receive something back for it, it wouldn't count.
Okay.
And a lot of foundations are fine with the give or get. So even if you don't donate the money, if you are responsible for a friend to donate the money, that also counts as
Okay.
you donating. So I feel like, just based on everything I know about CORE and these amazing board members, that this is not going to be an issue whatsoever. But I think it's nice that I think it would be really good and beneficial for us to start documenting it and just checking that off the list of things that our board is contributing to.
Thanks, Brent. Just as a reminder, like at Gartner, they match, right? So anytime, even if it's $5 or $10, just don't forget that if you have an employer that matches, we're 501c3, and that doubles the contribution.
Definitely.
Brett, is there any guidance around, if you are responsible for eliciting donations from other folks, how we capture that information for these grants?
Jen, you broke up.
I was saying, is there guidance around, if you are responsible for eliciting donations from other individuals, how we capture that in terms of responsibly saying that, we've done this for these grants?
So I think as long as we capture it internally, it's not a problem. So I've probably written 8,000 grants now throughout my career, and not one of them has ever asked for documentation on it. It's a question that's asked, but there's not follow up on it. So I think that as long as between the three of us, Mary, Tara, and I, figure out a way to just track it, I think we'll be fine.
So one of the grants, for example, that we were working on over this past week, it literally said, what percentage of your board contributes financially to the organization? And then the second question was, what is the total dollar amount of those contributions? So we have to put in a percentage and a dollar amount contribution. So that's why tonight we're asking, like, we want to be able to go in, and again, it can be $5. We want to be able to go in and say, 100% of our board is financially contributed in some way to the foundation. And then, we're going to do our best to come up with the exact dollar amount based on the records that we have. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
I would just say, because I think not all the board members are on this call, am I right?
Mhm.
So maybe when you send out the minutes, you could put in not only a reminder that they have that to do, but maybe a link to, you can give right here.
That's a
And
great idea.
then they'll make it easy for them.
That's a great reminder, Cheryl. We definitely will do that. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, and I like that idea of that when we get the email, we just click the link and, contribute right then. So maybe we'll have it all knocked out by the end of the week.
Great. All right, Brett, Core Community Day of Service.
Yes, so this was an idea that has kind of evolved, and it's evolved into something that we're super excited about and we think is going to be huge. So originally we were picturing that each of our causes would pick an activity or a project where we would engage the community. But Tara went to an event recently where they were doing something similar, but they were doing it all at the same time at the same location. So for instance, this one was held in a church atmosphere, and there was different tables set up, and different nonprofits and organizations from the area were there talking about their nonprofit. Maybe they had a little display board, and some of them had little projects, like one had a bird feeder. And so what we were picturing is, instead of the core causes doing something independently, making this a core community day of service. We have kind of grandiose ideas here, and we're picturing at the town center, doing it at the pavilion. Now, we don't know if that's going to happen, but ideally that would be amazing. Then we're engaging the community as a whole, not just the people we invite. It could be anybody who's walking by. So Tara's working on that, and we have many plan B, C, D, E, F if that doesn't work out. But at least you can envision what it looks like. So we would have the pavilion, we'd have each of our core causes set up a table, maybe have a small project that's related to their cause, and have information, maybe some flyers. And for our ones that are not, our causes that are not local, we can have a core foundation table where we can display some of their information as well.
Does anyone have any questions, ideas? Does this sound like a good idea? Feedback?
I love it because it's getting that critical mass. And Cheryl, doesn't Deloitte do something like this? And he
Yeah,
learned from kind of how they roll it out.
I mean, they have they have Impact Day once a year, and that day is just dedicated to going out into the community. They have various projects that they, identify ahead of time, and folks are able to sign up for them. And yeah, it's just a great, they have do t-shirts for it, and people can pick the causes that they're, interested in. So I'm happy to kind of think through as you go, as you think about this, how, if there's anything you can steal or borrow from that.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was like a model
Yeah.
of kind of
Yeah.
swag and fun and,
Yeah.
The
other thing they do is they have a big party at the National Zoo at the end of it. Now, I'm not saying, but you could do something
hey, we got the rest
like
to
that.
do.
Yeah, there we go.
But my point is, you have a place where, like, at the end, there's like a meetup.
Yeah.
I love
Everybody
that.
kind of comes together after they've done their different things. And so I don't know, depending on how this was all set up,
I think
maybe.
that's a fantastic idea. And I think people are just craving that. They're craving that interaction right now. So for us to facilitate an event like this, I think the timing is perfect. You want to give back, you want to get together. And the other piece of this that Brett and I discussed is there are so many big name potential sponsors and partners right here. If we can pull off the town center, you've got Leidos. They've never given Core a dime, but this is an opportunity for us, just like the golf tournament, to go in and to attract a different kind of partner sponsor that we've never been able to attract. So if we could find, Cheryl, to your point, like a few organizations that want to jump on, maybe they have a day of service and they could incorporate this in, or maybe they've never done that before, but we create a venue for them. I think this is such a good opportunity for us to build on year over year, and then just give our core causes some visibility in the community that they might not otherwise have. So.
College
And one other
boards,
aspect about it is that, oh, I'm sorry, Jennifer.
I think college boards in the town center, it would be great if we could get their involvement.
Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't Google in there too?
I think we know a person there.
We know one or two.
Yeah, Google, Microsoft, again, to Tara's
Right.
point, and not to get us off track, but most of these sponsors love the fact that it's not just when they work with CORE, it's not just one cause, right? They feel like they're getting a variety of penetration into the community, whether it is homeless or it is cancer research or it is, and all of these different ones, they've expressed to us that that's a really positive model. So I'm excited that you guys are taking it to the next level with this day of community service.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what do we do to incent the people in those businesses to come out for that day and check out everything?
So that's Ted, that's a great question. And that's something that we're going to be formulating what that looks like. We don't have a day, a venue. The first thing is we need to find a day and a venue and a place that will support this event. And then we can kind of roll from there and create the marketing material.
What about a blood drive? So you get like a mobile blood truck, it rolls up, you go to all these companies and say, hey, suggest to your employees that blood donations are down because COVID.
So that's a
Have
great
them all
idea.
come out.
It is
But
a
that
even
gets-
simpler,
That kind of gets
even
them
simpler
there.
than blood drives are doing these swabs for you can do for bone marrow and
Something like that.
platelet
Yep.
transplants. And those really just require a swab in the cheek versus a blood draw, which might make it easier and faster and cheaper.
I mean, it's all of the above, right?
The other
So
thing
it's
is
something
to
like that.
play up the
Yeah.
I like that idea a lot too. I mean, this is so exciting because there's so many ways and directions that we can take this. So
What I think too, yeah, the other thing, I love the ideas I'm hearing is that some of these employers, their employees haven't seen each other physically for a year, right? And so this is an opportunity, as some of them may not be getting back to the office until September or October, or because they got to get the office safe. There's just so many dynamics, but this could be an opportunity to say, hey, right, if we pick a day that again is going to be COVID safe, this is a day that we can all finally see each other face to face again before we get back to the office.
one of the
Yeah.
other things that's really critical is that most every company has a corporate responsibility ledger. So there are corporate responsibility reports that go out, which companies have, greater corporate responsibility. How are they measuring? There's a measurement for most of those. And there's actually specific job roles or organizations for corporate responsibility. So I do think that, especially as we move through COVID, that's a big deal for large corporations to show that there is some sort of community effort and responsibility. And I think companies are going to look for a way to have that that activism, because the employees want to see that in the company they're working for.
Great. Well, and I think too, if we are successful in getting Reston Town Center on board, I think that Reston Town Center will help us facilitate some of these relationships, and that's what I'm working on.
Mhm.
So
One large aspect of it that we're also excited about is the storytelling for CORE Foundation. A lot of our storytelling is around the core causes, but this will give us photos and testimonials about CORE Foundation itself. So that's, I think, one of the other main incentives of doing this community day.
awesome. Well, if anyone after sleeping on it has any other comments, ideas, please
The
send them by.
Yeah, the only other comment is I put in there Robert Gowdy may be able to help. He's now, I think, the executive director at Grace, but he used to run that, the town center. But what they do is once a week they allow the banner across the top there
Oh, okay.
for the
Yeah.
nonprofits. We have to buy the banner, but it's totally worth it because then for a
Yeah.
week it just says, right, this weekend is the CORE Foundation Community Service Day, and they don't charge for that. It's just part of their, at least it was, a year ago. But Robert might be a good contact there for whoever's
Mhm.
to kind of get us, point
Awesome.
us in the right direction.
Okay, great. I don't know who he is, but let's connect on that later, Doug.
Yeah, Teresa's husband.
Yeah, he sounds
You've
familiar. Yeah, I know.
Teresa Gowdy. Yeah,
Okay,
once
okay.
you see him, you'll put two and two together.
I'll know who he is. Okay.
He runs the Great Arts Festival.
Okay.
Anyway,
Okay.
cool.
All right, great.
One last little thought I was just going to mention is, because you mentioned weekend, Doug, and I was going to type in the chat of, you might consider like a weekday afternoon. The other, if you're talking about getting companies to get their employees out, if they told them they got the afternoon to go do this, you're going to get a great showing. I mean, but then you have to have the companies buy into it, of course. So there's give and take, but.
Love that.
I like that too. And you could even continue it on into the evening.
Right. So if you did an afternoon, they're not taking a whole day off, but they're giving them a few hours off.
Like maybe a Thursday.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it fits well with what Doug said earlier about the company can't commit to getting people in the office, but they could endorse this event that starts at 3 o'clock. And then if you want to hang out with your coworkers you haven't seen in a year till 6, 7, 8, or 9 o'clock in the town center.
That's what kind of made me think of it too. And Deloitte does it where they take it, they do it. It's usually a Friday, but I think to your point, Thursday might even be better. But
I'm just thinking it may end up to be in the summer and got vacations and those kinds of things. And then you could extend it like someone mentioned to do, you mentioned Cheryl, to do a celebration after.
Right.
So we could continue on and wherever. So lots of great ideas. I'm so glad we brought this up and spent some time on it. I think it was time well spent and it will really pay off. So thank you for everyone's ideas. Okay, so resources needed. Cheryl, this slide was actually inspired by you because on the last call, when we get down to fill volunteer roles, you said, Tara, will you give us a description of what exactly you're looking for? So we've provided that today and then some. So I'll start from the top. The first thing we need to do is we need to fill 18 foursomes for the Golf Classic. We have a check in hand for 1. We've got a bunch of maybes and interest, which those need to be reeled in. And I think we've got verbals on maybe 3 others. They are not the marquee sponsors that are going to really cover the event. So
is there a link we can share with the board members that kind of guides them? We put it in the chat box maybe.
That along with the other follow-up items will be coming to the board. Mary, did we say Wednesday?
Okay.
I think Wednesday. We're going to send you all that. So we're going to send you something that you can copy and paste into an email to your contacts. It will have everything you need. You can personalize it if you'd like, but it will give you what you need, all the sound bites, and then you can just flip that around and forward it out to anyone that you think might be interested. So super easy there.
Perfect.
And that'll have the mission statement in there as well, Tara, the revised mission statement.
We'll put a little blurb about CORE and who we are and what we do and why we're doing the tournament and what
That'd be good.
benefits,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And then the link to sign up, or if you prefer to mail a check, which might be, I will say, so with Flip Calls, there is a cost associated with buying a foursome or purchasing the foursome sponsorship level. And it is beneficial to write a check. It's beneficial for us and it's beneficial for the sponsor. So I would encourage that route. And again, we'll put those sound bites that you can copy and paste into an email out there.
Tara, I was gonna ask on that. Does Flip Calls give us the capability? So I was giving the other day, and upon checkout it says, "Hey, this platform charges a fee. Do you want to cover the fee for the philanthropy?"
Right.
In addition to your giving, does Flip Calls have a feature that we could activate that?
It's activated.
Okay, good.
And then they get the opportunity to opt out.
And when they opt out, becomes a little bit of a problem, especially when you're talking about a significant donation, because then we're eating that and it comes out of whatever margins that we have built in. So keep in mind for golf tournament, for example, there's swag, we have to pay for meals, we have to pay for.
Oh, they can opt out of sponsoring?
No, they can opt out of the fee. So we have to eat the fee. But that's what I'm saying. That becomes problematic for us. I'm just being full disclosure and transparent. So if you can encourage them to write us a check, we will reserve their spot. And if they're local, I'm happy to go pick up a check.
Okay.
Because we've gotten some questions about that. So I wanted to address it while we've got everyone on the call. All right. So we've already talked a little bit about this. We really, really need new corporate partners. We just haven't really penetrated a lot in that area. We don't have a lot of large corporate partners. And in order for the foundation to grow, we need those. So we're looking for introductions and again, trying to create events that really facilitate bringing those kinds of people to events where we can have those conversations naturally as well. We brought some really great new board members in. We have Ted, Brett, Gina already making a big impact on the foundation. So we're continuing to look for new board members to add to the team. So really excited about the new board members we have and looking to grow. So if you know of good board members or good potential board members, please bring their names to Doug so that we can vet them and potentially get them onto the team as well. Okay.
Especially if they've got experience with like campaigns,
Mhm.
Some of the kind of more of a marketing nonprofit development on the campaign side. We got Brett's doing great work with grants, but there's always so much the team can do. So anyone who's got good experience with running these kind of giving campaigns would love to give them a board spot to help us with that.
Yeah, great point. And even event planning, you can see we've got 3 key events. We can always use people with those skills as well, the social media, the marketing, and so forth. Okay, this is my Cheryl role. So filling key volunteer roles. We really need a Giving Gala chairman. I would love to pass the baton this year on that job. If we can't find someone, I'm going to be doing the work. And that's going to pull me away from doing other things. At the same time, that's a program that we have to build, and it's necessary for us to really grow and continue the work that we're doing financially. So we've got to have that event in there. So that's of this wish list, that's the number one.
And I would say, Tara, too, when I'm just thinking of Capital Steps, which is now gone, right? Because the Capital Steps folded as a group. But that was one of the more successful ones, and that was a team at the top, right? So it was a group of 3 folks that loved working together. So it doesn't even have to be a chairman or a chairperson, right? It could be
co-chairman.
Yeah, or a chair committee, or something that is a group of folks that really love doing this kind of thing. And if folks have ideas, let them know. They don't have to be alone if they've got a team.
Absolutely not. And we have a whole committee that I believe will step back in. So the last couple of years, we've had at least 10 really strong committee members, and the piece parts change a little bit each year. But they've got a strong group potentially to back them, and some new recruits. But we need somebody to take ownership and someone to be accountable at the end of the day, and someone that I can mentor, whether it's accountable at the end of the day.
Sarah, do we have role descriptions written out for these 5 positions yet?
Yep, those are coming. Those will be coming to you on Wednesday. They're written out. We're just going to put everything into one email for you all so that you have everything in one place. So just real quickly, I'll hit on the others. The other one is the core volunteer leadership coordinator. So what that person would do, their only role, it's not to fill every volunteer spot, it's to fill leader spots. So if we need a Giving Gala chairman, if we need shelter outreach chairperson, if we need a social media marketing person, they're maybe filling 8 spots a year. That's their whole job. They're going to be looking for high talent, leadership, entrepreneurial type, connected people in the community, and they're going to plug them into roles. So Brett and I came up with that the other day and talking. We're like, it'd be really nice to have someone who can just help us find these leaders. So that position, the shelter outreach person. So with the Splash and Dash, there's the Patrick Henry shelter, the Catherine Hanley shelter. There's Laurel Learning. There is Embry Rucker. So we would just and we've got all the contacts, we have the relationships. We just need someone to call the shelters, to have the parents fill out the paperwork, to get the interest so that we can get the kits out this year to the families and to the kids. And then next year, hopefully it'll be signing them up and recruiting for an in-person event at the shelters and the low-income centers. So that's what that role is. It's a lot of fun. It's not a lot of time. It's just someone who's has coordination skills and people skills. And it's very high gratification. Obviously, Doug already mentioned, we really need some help with social media marketing. Mary and I are stretched thin, and we can definitely use some work and some help in that area with some additional marketing. I think we could do a lot more. And then last year we had Allison McHugh. Allison McHugh was an amazing intern. She came in, she was a volunteer. She basically worked on every project. She could sit on executive level calls. She took minutes. She did some work in Canva, creating some templates, which we then use on social media. So she was a DECA student. So she had that sort of social media marketing background. She was 1 in a million. So if we could find another Alyssa or Allison, sorry, Alyssa's different person, core cause leader. If we could find another Allison, it would be really, really helpful. So I'm not looking for someone to go clean the core, storage unit and volunteer events. This is like real leadership type person.
Is it possible that there could be like I don't know, somewhere where we could share links to our networks, kind of touting it, and then they click there and then they could select where they wanted to volunteer or help? Or how can we help kind of get the word out about these positions to our networks?
So one of the things that occurs to me when I'm looking at a core social media and marketing, that could be an internship for someone who's in college age. And frankly, I've seen a lot of them posted on LinkedIn recently. And that's a great opportunity for a young person who is very much into wanting to do these things. They're already innately into it because of their age cohort. So the core social media and marketing could be an
I agree, Jen. That's and we've talked
frankly, if we get them going through the summer, they can do it in college.
Funny, Jen and I are using the same broadband, and yet she's having challenges.
Yeah,
it's
Jen,
breaking up, Jen.
I'm sorry I cut you off. I thought you were done speaking. I didn't realize you were cutting out. But we've talked about using LinkedIn more as a resource, and I just jotted that down. And we really haven't used LinkedIn a lot, and I think that's a great outlet here. So thanks for bringing that up.
I've seen a lot of really neat opportunities, and I've pointed them out to some of our kids in this house, that there's been a lot of just volunteer opportunities that will give them an internship and a growth opportunity. I mean, these are great. And so I think these last two we could post these last two on LinkedIn.
I agree. And if you don't mind, Jen, when you're seeing those out there, just tag me on LinkedIn just so I can see how they're marketing those positions. Well, I'm just curious about that. And I'll get on LinkedIn a little bit more as well. All right, well, I'm going to wrap up here. I know I'm going on a little longer in this segment than anticipated, but I'm glad we're spending time on it because as I said, I think it's really valuable. So gala venue suggestions. We're going to need a new venue for the gala this year. I will be moving out of Signature in 2 weeks, which is awesome. But that means we can't have the gala here this fall, which originally we had planned to have it here last fall, which obviously didn't happen. So we're going to be looking for a new spot. And in brainstorming with someone else today, actually a potential core cause leader, she suggested a winery in the fall, which I thought was a great idea. I think in the fall, a lot of the wineries are underutilized and they've got space. So if anyone knows of a winery, there are tons of wineries. So we don't have time to call hundreds of wineries, but if anyone knows of a specific winery that might be a good fit that could hold, I would say 150, maybe 200 people, just please reach out with the name and we'll give it a good look. Or if you have it doesn't have to be a winery. The hotels though are probably going to be pretty expensive. And it would be nice if there was some sort of outside area that we can also utilize. Okay, I see your ideas here. I'll note those, Doug. Thank you. All right, and then lastly here, in terms of resources needed, we are close to wrapping up the annual report for 2020, and we could use some quotes. So if everyone could just take a moment and send in a quote. It could be your favorite memory from 2020. It could be why you love to volunteer and be a board member for Core Foundation. It could be, Ted, you're a new board member. It could be why you chose to be a board member. Those kinds of things. Any of those nuggets that you could personalize and send would be really helpful. We'd like to sprinkle some of those quotes throughout the report. Okay. All right, this is one of the most exciting slides in the deck. I keep saying that because they're all exciting, but this is really exciting. So Mary and I have been on quite a tear, a blitz, if you will, for new core cause applicants. And Mary did a phenomenal job getting us up and running and registered in the fiscal sponsor directory. It's a nationwide directory of fiscal sponsors. And it's where, potential core causes will go if they're Googling for a fiscal sponsor. It's that tool that they use, to vet fiscal sponsors. So I would say actually quite a few of these were references or came through referrals as well. But I would say half came through the fiscal sponsor directory. So the ones that you're seeing here, we have talked to all of these and done a preliminary interview, at least one, except for two of them, but we feel very good about putting them on the slide, the other two. And we'll be speaking with them in the next couple of days here. So just to give you an idea, the ones in green, we have a verbal that they're going to be completing their paperwork this week. So that's 3. And you can see by you can see by kind of the names, we've got a variety of really interesting new causes and missions coming in, human trafficking, helping people to find jobs at a time when it's really difficult, and providing those resources, helping to provide athletic scholarships for kids, helping with scholarships for college prep and colleges, climate accountability. So just some really interesting conversations. I know Mary and I have been really fired up to get on these calls. And as you can see on the bottom, there are 5 categories. There's possible status approved, plan to be a 501c3, already a 501c3, high insurance risk, and decline. And what that means is when a core cause application comes in that we feel is solid, Mary will send them, she'll put them in a category, and they get a specific letter based on their category. And it's all pre-written. She just forwards, she copies, paste, she sends them an email, and then she asks for an appointment. And as I said, all of these we either have had an appointment with or have an appointment in the works. So really, really, really happy with this activity. And it's breathed some new life, I think, into both of us as well. And happy to take any questions that you might have on what we're doing with core causes.
That's great. And it looks really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just can't say enough. And I know the board knows this, that, our model depends on this type of revenue generation, right? Remember, when people donate to Helping Hungry Kids or to these folks, only 10% comes to the foundation. And given the dozen or, so causes we have now, it's not going to sustain the work we're doing. So we've had to supplement it with these other events like the golf tournament, Splash and Dash, some of the grants.
Right.
But the more that we can get a diverse portfolio of passionate core cause leaders that benefit from our support, you can see where that increases the revenue stream coming in and provides some more kind of stability to the foundation. So great work, Mary and Tara, to kind of head us down this road.
One of the exciting things, Doug, is that some of these core causes have demonstrated that they really do have funding behind them.
Great.
For example, the Climate Accountability Initiative is right now being funded by the Clinton Foundation.
Great.
That's great. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and so Clinton Foundation is pushing them off to do their own thing because they're more involved with climate, and Clinton Foundation is more involved with health. But what
right.
they have done is they've gone to Clinton Foundation and other health-oriented NGOs, international NGOs, and helped them recognize and identify their carbon footprints, measure, get a baseline,
Wow.
get some sustainability options going. And so they've done everybody in that area. And they say they have a commitment from the Clinton Foundation to continue funding them, but they need them to get into a different space, which is where the fiscal sponsorship comes in.
Fantastic.
So that's pretty exciting. And yeah, and so we're seeing budgets of 100 to 200,000 in some of these core causes. Let's hope we can close them.
And a little bit of core foundation history. We applied pre-Mary and Tara. We applied for that fiscal sponsor index, and they rejected us. And they rejected us because we don't charge anything. And they said that the other fiscal sponsors would not allow an organization that does it for free on their directory. So the key must have been that we had to charge 10%, Mary.
It must have been.
Yeah.
And a $500 onboarding fee.
Is that what we're up to?
Yes.
Excellent.
And know that as we're going through this process with these conversations, we are continuing to have conversations about updating the program that we have. Mary is making tweaks to the operations guide, based on some of the questions that we are continuing to field, and we're continuing to make our model better and improve it. But as you can see, again, I mean, the missions, we get on these calls and I am just blown away by the passion, the enthusiasm. We don't get on a call with someone unless their mission is pretty vetted. They've got to come in with a budget, or at least a straw man budget coming into it, kind of knowing what they want to do. And it's just been a really exciting, I'd say, month. We've been at this about a month, right, Mary, where we were really tackling these conversations. We have at least, I'd say, 3 a week. We've got
Right.
1 or 2 tomorrow, and we've got a couple more to set here to wrap some of these up. But again, we should have 3 coming in the next week, if not
Excellent.
more.
Excellent. And board members, remember, our model had always been, and we know that you're all busy, we're all busy. And so this is just as a reminder that you have this available to you. Our model's always been to have the boards support particular ones, right? So that if you see someone on this list and that inspires you, or you're interested, you want to get a little closer, you're welcome to reach out to Tara and Mary to be introduced to the core cause leaders. Again, it's not an obligation. At the same time, you may see something on there that really that excites you to help them, because what I can share with you is the chances of their success with us will be higher if there's more engagement, right, from us. So if
Oh, that'd be
board members
terrific.
involved.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just if you see something on this list, just go out to Mary and Tara and say, hey, sign me up for, a check-in, or before a board meeting, you call them and say, hey, do you want me to tout anything, or invite, just
Right.
kind of that board level liaison with them goes a long way to retaining them.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that would be great. And you're welcome to sit in on any of the calls as well. So I would say on our calls, we accomplish 3 things. We ask them questions. We answer questions that they have for us. And then I would say the other piece is brainstorming. So in strategy, and we want them to see that, because that's part of the mentoring process. Even on the very first phone call is, have you thought about this? Well, what do you think about this? All right, let's talk about it. Let's kind of noodle that one out. And that's how we're building trust. We're building credibility, and we're letting them know that we're more than just a fiscal sponsor. We're not just going to take their 10% and cash that in the bank. We're actually here to help them build their business and their entrepreneurship. And we're a team, taking them through the starting point all the way through if they were to become a core alumni. So
Right.
we
Right.
talk about that on every call, that we're a family, and we're here to support your goals and the dreams of your mission, whatever that might be. So, all right. Next slide. Okay, this is a fun one. So insurance update. With growth comes growing pains. Do you want to take this, Doug? Were you starting to say something? He wants to jump in.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to, and because of time, I'll just be brief with, up to this point, the insurers have always looked at us as, we do these events, but we're insured by these other these governing bodies like USAT, the other governing bodies on the day of the event. So their risk has always been pretty low, because they were insuring board meetings or volunteer get-togethers. Well, as we're bringing these core causes on, especially, and probably the one that's the most impactful is some of our core cause leaders are building desks for low-income kids that don't have desks in their homes. Well, now you're talking about hammers, saws, and nails, and so the insurance company has kind of said, hey, we're not, the current carrier said we're not interested in renewing after this year. So we've got another 6 months to go to kind of find someone who now looks at us with a new set of eyes, where we stand today, which is a lot of core causes with a lot of variable work. And so what we've done is we've invited Tom Tufts, who has since the beginning handled all of our insurance requirements. He's going to come to the July meeting. So what I'd ask is just stay on the lookout for any emails that we may send the board regarding insurance. Know that technically we've got 8 months, 7 months to make sure we have someone pick up the baton where the current carrier is dropping it. And we'll have an opportunity at the July board meeting to to get an update from Tom on how things are looking. At the same time, ask any questions that you may have about this situation.
All right.
Any questions? Okay.
Over to you, Doug, on the financials.
Yeah, so go ahead and Mary emailed them out to you. Mary, do you mind maybe flashing the income statement? Let's start with the income statement on the screen. There's a couple of things I want to draw your attention to that. Let's just start with my my observation is I've been looking at these for 15 years. Considering last year, just very pleased. You're going to see year over year changes. Some core causes haven't done much during COVID. Others are new. So you're going to see positives there. I wouldn't spend too much time on the individual accounts. Oh, actually, okay. So this is the income statement. What I would look at is that, we're down about 20% in terms of income year over year. And a lot of that, there's a couple of things at play here. One is there's this quarterly anomaly where we had an expense in March of about $7,200 for some equipment for desks, and then the sponsor's check came in April, right? So it's one of those things where that 7,200 probably is a couple percentage gains there. But the other obviously is the Reston Sprint Triathlon. We only took half the entries, right, this year. So normally in the beginning of the year, that's probably another $30,000 or $40,000 in revenue that would have been coming in for the tri. At the same time, we didn't give our money to Cornerstones right away yet this year. So I don't know if you recall, last year we wrote a check for $35,000 at the beginning of the year. Then COVID hit. This year, we're kind of waiting to see how all this plays out, given the fact that our athletes. So that doesn't reflect the fact that we didn't contribute $35,000. So all in, all up, income is sort of flat. Expenses are up, given some of the things that we had to do. That being said, it could have been, certainly a lot worse, but it's something we've got to watch as we go forward, which is why you see some of these revenue generating activities that the foundation's trying to put together. And then if you come to the bottom, though, you see that still that's an official net income of $51,000. Again, we didn't give to Cornerstones because that would make it really close. But and overall, we're looking at a drop of about 50% year over year. Can you go up a little bit, Mary? Oh, I'm sorry. There was one other thing I wanted to call out. Okay, so this is the budget, and I can't even read this. Apologize, everybody. Just my eyes, but
Hold on just a minute. I'll get the other one back.
Yeah, that is really small. I can't read it either.
And you should have it in email, and I'll bring it back
Okay.
up here in just a second. So you wanted the income
I was just going
statement
to
back?
scroll back up a little bit on the expenses. We are incurring more fixed expenses now, right? So we've got more monthly recurring expenses, and given again the fact that our event income is heavy at the beginning of the year, but a lot of these other events are happening in the quarter. That's one of the other things that you're seeing here, is that. That's all right, Mary, if we can't get to it. I was just gonna.
How far do you want to go?
All we're seeing is the budget right now.
Oh,
Yeah, there we go. So scroll down a little bit. Keep going. Oh, I'm sorry. Trying to think. There was something else I wanted to call out. Scroll down.
charitable contributions.
No, I apologize, everybody. I thought there was something else I wanted to call out, but I don't see
Is
it.
it the forgiveness of the loans or? is
Yeah,
it that-
where is that? Thank
That's
you,
on the
Gina.
balance sheet.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you, Gina. Thank you, Mary. Yeah, so let's head there. So the other thing that was at play last year is, as you know, we incurred some liabilities. Some liabilities were forgiven, so we'll talk about that, which is great news, and that's due to Mary's hard work. we still have the outstanding liability for the big disaster recovery loan where we borrowed $146,000 to kind of make sure we can get through this time period. So Mary, if we could kind of go to where the forgiveness is.
So the forgiveness still needs to be recorded.
Okay. And that's going to be about how much?
So we should, it's about 6,700 on a PPP and another 1,000.
Okay.
So 77, almost 8,000 off of this. So right now we've still got the second PPP that came in around 13,000, and that's what this number should be.
Okay.
And it will be, and this will
that
go away.
That second one, the 13,000, there's an opportunity for potential for forgiveness for that too, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So this is where I wanted to get to. I know, you know, again, anyone has questions after you've got time to look through this, text me, because you can imagine this is all this moving stuff with the CARES Act. But we have to reflect where we are right now. So this 20,767 right there is possibly going to be forgivable. Some of it already has, to Mary's point, about 7,000 is already forgiven. So 13,000 is out there. Good opportunity for that to be forgiven. This 146,700 up here is probably not going to be forgiven. Now they have delayed the payment, but we're still accruing interest. So this is not impacting cash flow, but it is hanging over us. All right. Now, if you scroll down, we've got about $100,000. Where's the Vanguard, Mary? Oh, sorry, guys, scroll up. Okay, so we've got $100,000. It's kind of our safety net. I mean, that we've got just to make sure the foundation would be viable and keep going through COVID. As soon as COVID's done and we see some sustainability, certainly that can go to pay off a bulk of that 146, and then we'll work on getting the other $46,000 down. So those are kind of some of the things I want to be sure the board is aware of, and answer any questions you may have about how COVID has impacted the foundation.
And those unforgivable, Doug, and under any clauses with all the changes?
Not yet. I'm not
Okay.
hearing anything on that one. That one was called the disaster recovery. And that
Okay.
was really, you know, back in March when we didn't know what was going to happen with the try, right? That all these athletes are going to want their money back. And we'd already given 35 to cornerstones. And there was just so much uncertainty. The interest rate is ridiculously low. The monthly payment on that is around $650 a month.
Right.
The total amount, right? So that's, but there's, I've not heard
Got it.
anything. Now I would say Mary's doing a great job of working with Atlantic Union Bank, has been a big advocate for us because they process some of these loans. So they're on top of things, but also Miller Musmar, CPA firm, has been very good about watching the actual acts and understanding how it impacts their clients. And so that's why the PPP is probably very probable for being forgiven, but the disaster recovery is going to come due. And it's a 30-year, you know, it's something, it's still something out there that I would like to get rid of as soon as the pandemic's behind us.
Right. Okay.
Do you want to try to see the budget? Do you want me to get it larger?
You know, I don't know. I mean, you could, why don't you send it out, everybody, just in time, if everyone sees, you know, again, we had some expenses that went over this quarter, and I know that we're working on as a team to make sure we get that back in line for the second, you know, by the end of the middle of the year.
Right. And we're also boosting revenue, like we talked about. Golf tournament, RST registration should pick back up, grants, and then just really, if we could just tackle a couple large corporate sponsors, it's going to make a lot of this go away. And I know we can do it. We've got the events now to attract.
Yeah. And you know, for any board members that may have revenue concerns, I'm with you. First of all, let's just say that. I mean, you never know. But the triathlon was a big hit because it was 500. We normally do 1,000. Now that we've moved it to August 15th, we're sold out. We're already getting requests from folks to do the in-person event. It's very likely that we'll be able to add on once, let's just say in July, the governor says, you can all have barbecues now, you can do events, this event will sell out 500 within, 500 slots really quickly. So, but until that time, this is the reality of the financial situation. Thanks, Mary.
Mhm.
Ted, anything to add? Great. All right.
No, nothing to add. Sorry, I was searching for my unmute button.
All right, Jennifer.
So this last year has given us an opportunity to do something I've been wanting to do for a long time. When
Hey,
I
Jen.
joined
Hey, Jen.
RST volunteer group. Yes.
Do you mind just maybe coming down to the office?
Yes.
Thank you. I think there must be a delay with hers, right? Is anyone else getting that sense?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah. So I'm going to let her sit here.
Okay.
that would be great. I apologize for cutting her off earlier. I thought she was finished speaking and then she could come back in finishing her sentence. Felt bad.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yep.
So when I had the opportunity to join the Rust and Sprint Tri in the early years, I walked into an organization that had a logo and everything else was done with poster board and Sharpies on the morning of, which was great. I mean, you know, boots and straps, you kind of do what you have to do. But over the years, my request was to try to help the organization grow in professionalism with look, feel, and branding. And we finally arrived at the right point in time, I think about a year ago, where we had the opportunity to go beyond just the core foundation the Rust and Sprint triathlon infographics that we had created. I had brought on designer that I had worked with professionally. And so then last year I said to Doug, can we please? And so we went in last year and the goal was to put professional branding around the core foundation itself, which included not only rebranding the Rust and Sprint triathlon logo, but recreating the look and feel of the core foundation logo and then creating brand guidelines around usage, fonts, iconography, colors, color palettes. And we went so far as to extend that to the Rust and Sprint triathlon color palette as well. So there's probably not a huge change visually for most of you for what the core foundation logo looks like, although we do have different usage and we do have guidelines around that. With the Rust and Sprint triathlon, it's a whole new logo. We have a whole new color palette. So I'm very, very excited. This allows Tara and Mary and everybody else who goes to market on behalf of either of these organizations to go forward with a cohesive look and feel, which provides professionalism to the organization that I think will help us moving forward. So I know that since we've just come off financials, I can tell you that the designer that I hired is somebody that I had worked with for a long time, so we know how to efficiently work together. In addition, he does his freelance work is for nonprofits, so we do get a discount, a nonprofit discount to do those type of things. The recent work was creating the four foundation Golf Classic logo. So, and that was done very reasonably. So I think that, you know, that's kind of where we're headed. I'm not asking that our core causes be branded. I think that they get to have their own look and feel. We have been going through and trying to tighten up and clean up some of the stuff that's on the website, but that's kind of where, and Mary, thank you. She's been fantastic. And I pepper her once in a while with, here's a whole list of things that are wrong. Can you please fix these things? And she's been very great about that. So that's kind of the direction we're going with, to polish up and create a more professional look and feel for the core foundation and the organizations that sit underneath. And because the Rust and Sprint Tri is kind of the baby of the core foundation, you know, that's kind of grandfathered in there with the efforts that we have in place. All of those assets, should anyone need them, Brett, Mary obviously knows where they are, but should anyone need those, we have templates, we have website banners, we have everything in place so that, you know, should you need those things, we can quickly get you those assets for your use. Any questions? All right, then I'll hand it back over to Doug.
I look forward to seeing it all.
All right. Doug,
Fantastic.
did you have some closing words before I hit the action items, or would you like to close and I'll hit the action items first?
Why don't you hit the action items and I'll close.
Okay, great. All right. So this is just a really quick recap. So the things that we need. So recruit some foursomes, help us out with that, and help us find some partners for the golf tournament. And then number 3, facilitate introductions for core partners. We talked a lot about that tonight and the importance of that financially to the foundation. Send Tara your annual report quotes. Thank you. One person sent it to me on the call, so I appreciate that. Help us fill those volunteer chairman spots. That's really going to help us free up time for Mary and myself and let us focus on the core business of the Core Foundation. So that's super helpful. Share venue ideas for the Fall Giving Gala. We came up with a few already, so keep those coming. And then lastly, don't forget to make your board contribution, whatever that might be, so that we can say that 100% of our board members have given a financial contribution. And again, we will take these action items. We'll give you all the sound bites that you need to be successful to meet your action items, and those will come out by approximately Wednesday in one email.
Excellent.
All right, that's all I've got. Thank you.
Well, thanks so much, Tara. And I want for a couple of things. One, board members that are here tonight that are listening to this recording, I'm really asking you, again, it could be $5, but let's just knock this out, right? By the end of the week, when you get the link from Mary, just click in there and share your contribution. You give so much of your time. We're so grateful, but this means a lot to the work that Brett and the team are doing to kind of get with that. Same thing with the quote. I mean, this I know it takes time, but it doesn't take a lot of time. So just take 30 seconds when you get the email and share something from the heart, right? That is a quote that we can show about how, you know, as board members, as leaders, we're actively involved. I want to specifically thank every board member that's listening to this and that's on the call. I can't tell you how impressed and grateful we are for how you've leaned in, whether it's from the golf tournament or from doing grants or helping with all of the board administration. You know, Mary and Tara, basically that's the staff, right? So all of the board members helping out help take a load off of their shoulders and certainly give the foundation a better shot at fulfilling our mission and vision, which is to enable and activate people around us to do great work. Now, think about what you saw tonight. Think about all of that work. Now take a look at Mary and Tara. I mean, they have been working, their days are longer, their weeks are longer, right? They have been doing an incredible effort. So Tara and Mary, on behalf of the entire board, those that are here and those that aren't, I just want to say thank you. I mean, we wouldn't be where we are today without those two doing their work. And so board members, I hope we can take our responses, you know, kind of make sure we're doing our part when they have an ask and they need things to be done, that we do our part to help them out. And so my final thing is, if there's a way we can make it easier for you, board members, right? So if you say, hey, I want to help out, but it's, you know, it'd be easier if you just did this, right? Whether it's send me this link or do this, or let us know, right? Let us know how we can make it easier for you to do the good work as board members you're doing, because certainly we want to be respectful of your time. So with that, thanks everybody. Mary's going to send out a wrap up. She's going to get the minutes, right? It'll take some time, but we'll get the minutes. I do want you, again, to keep reviewing those, right? To make sure we're not missing something. And then if you have any questions at all, financial, insurance, anything that you have, you know that you can either reach out to me directly or reach out to Tara or Mary directly, or our attorney or our accountant, any of those folks. You're a board member, right? And my policy has always been to make all of our resources accessible directly to you if you need it. I want you to feel free to do that. All right. Thanks everybody for helping out. We'll see you at our next board meeting.